Our project was focused on Denso's BLM series blower motor line. The product line experiences an intermittent bearing failure that is induced upon assembly. The bearing failure issues lead to part rejects and customer returns. Our objective is to implement a design of experiment to analyze the root cause of failure, which can be either component or process induced. Then we will propose a solution for correction of the issue.
Potential contributors that were looked at in our study were the key factors affecting the shaft and bearing interface. Shaft outer diameter, chamfer, and radius were evaluated to see how they affect the press force as the bearing is pressed on to the shaft. External factors such as debris from the rotor balancing stage and other machining operations were also noted as being contributors to scratched shafts, which are commonly found on motors with excessive levels of bearing noise.
The team was tasked with the creation of a design of experiment to analyze the most likely causation of bearing noise. The experiment must test both process and component level factors, as well as be supported by sound statistical theory. Our design of experiment utilized batches of test parts which were sent through the assembly line to gather data. Upon completion of the test batches, the team performed sound testing to quantify the result. Test parts were manufactured of various dimensions, as well as various levels of lubrication before assembly to serve as the factors of contribution. Each part was meticulously measured with precision instruments to gather the most accurate data possible. Once the testing was completed, the design of experiment required linear regression and a multivariable factorial plan to weigh the influence of each component parameter on the resultant sound level.
The output to our 6-factor 2-level factorial design using a 95% confidence interval yielded no p-values below our significance level of alpha equals 0.05. The lowest was 0.109 for the radius, which concludes that there is no statistically significant association between our response variable, which is decibels, and the individual factors or their interactions. The Pareto chart of effects compares the relative magnitude and statistical significance of both main and interaction effects. While no main effects or their interactions cross the reference line to show their significance towards a response of decibel level, we will need to look further into the human and process error imparted on the validity of our data. After running our factorial design and finding out that our model was not adequate enough to conclude that the factors we selected were statistically significant on their influence of bearing noise, we were still able to identify that the shaft OD and radius to be the most influential and should be looked into further. The sample size used was too small and therefore would need to be increased to make a better determination that our model accurately explains bearing noise. Going forward, we think improving the shaft profile measurement process to allow more accurate and repeatable measurements, increasing sample size to accurately reflect the entire population, implementing a part tracking system in order to easily decompose sources of faulty parts, and implementing a stricter maintenance schedule for assembly, cell cleaning would be good steps to help minimize the issue of bearing noise.